Hi, good afternoon. This is Jessica Colmenares. I'm calling about the phone discussion.
Ms. Colmenares, hold on 1 second, okay?
Not a problem.
Okay, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Hanging in there.
Hanging in there?
I've put aside your questions here, all 13 of them,
Mm-hmm.
and let me address them with you. Well, before I get too far, I have to tell you, I'm not working in the juvenile justice system anymore. I was there several years ago
Okay.
As a delinquency judge, but I'll talk with you as what we've got. Okay, number one, I have resided in Miami-Dade County since 1955.
Mm-hmm. Long time.
Yeah, I'm a native. I am white, non-Hispanic.
Okay.
Okay. Now, the mission statement of the JJC. What's the JJC?
The juvenile justice, it's supposed to be JJS, Juvenile Justice System.
Okay, so dealing with the juvenile justice system. Oh my goodness. I don't know if they have a mission statement. They're trying to deal with young people who are accused of committing crimes.
Mm-hmm.
And trying to get children off the pathway to prison.
Understood.
Yeah. All right. My role when I was in the juvenile justice system was as a delinquency judge. So I was responsible for cases that came in where children were charged with crimes and working their cases through to completion. Some of them stayed with us because their cases remained in the juvenile justice system, and some got referred out to the adult courts.
Mm-hmm.
Those are, direct file cases. So, anyway, that's what I did there. I had a delinquency division. Now, what is diversion? Diversion comes in a bunch of different flavors. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The state attorney's office runs their own diversion program that they draw people through. That's the JAZZ program. I don't know if that's still going on or not.
Mm-hmm.
We were a pilot program for civil citations back in 2011 or so. And the idea with that was lower level offenses would be given a citation instead of an arrest. And it'd be like a promise to appear, where they'd have to show up at the state attorney's office, in a couple of weeks. Maybe they'd be given community service hours or counseling or whatever, but the cases never got filed. In other words, no petition delinquency was ever filed. The child was never taken into custody.
Oh, okay.
And so that's the civil citation program. That's still in place. There's still a diversion program where a case comes in, you say, okay, we're going to send the kid to diversion, completes the program, case gets dismissed.
Mm-hmm.
And let me drop back a little bit. There's an old study, I think out of the 80s, 90s, whenever, which said that 80% of kids who have an interaction with the juvenile justice system only go there one time.
Oh, wow.
Okay? Yeah. Now, I'd have to track it down because I never looked for the study. It was just sort of a rule of thumb kind of idea. And it made some sense because, maybe the kid woke up, didn't want to go through this again. Maybe mama woke up, and realized I need to, and dad, to take better care of this kid, to watch him more closely and keep a better tab on them. Maybe they aged out. because their first offense was at 17 and a half.
Mm-hmm.
And the next time they did something wrong, they're 18. But for whatever reason, about 80%, and I don't know where the number came from, but what if it was 60%? What about 70%? Whatever the number is, it became apparent that it'd be better to catch these kids and divert them out of the system. Don't bring them in, because once you bring them in, mom's got to take off work, the kid's going to miss school, all the disruption that occurs with one of these cases and the stigma gets visited upon the child, all of that negative. Not to mention, if you take them in and you house them for a day or two in the lockup, who are they rubbing elbows with? Young criminals.
Exactly.
Not the people you want to have an influence on them. And I learned this early on. I knew that threatening a child with, I'm going to put you in the lockup, was a whole lot better than putting him in the lockup. Because once you put him in juvenile detention, after 2 or 3 days of being scared, then they look around and say, well, I can handle this. And then who are they buddies with? The guy going off to a commitment, some of the hardcore that are on their way to prison inextricably. So the whole idea of diverting early on has really become a major factor of the juvenile justice system.
Yeah.
Sorry for the broad talk, but it makes a lot of sense to do it that way.
No, it does, and it kind of does answer the question as to how diversion is superior to formal criminal proceedings or incarceration, because that way the child doesn't have these associations with these harder or perhaps badder criminals. And
sure, associations,
exactly.
Stigma, interruption in education and support systems, all of those things that you take the kid out of their normal routine, that's dangerous. And if you can provide them the assistance through structure and counseling, then I think you're in much better shape.
I agree 100%.
Okay, let's see, number 7. I've given you what diversion is, specific qualifications, I can't answer that. Number 7, what legal constraints do you know of that govern the decision process by which youth are provided or denied access? I don't know the answer to that question. Somebody from the state attorney's office would be in the best position to answer that question for you.
Okay.
And I would give a call over to juvenile justice, to the state attorney's office, and ask, who's the lead state attorney in the juvenile justice system?
Yeah, we've been trying them for some time, but I'm sorry to interrupt. Unfortunately, we've been getting kind of the runaround.
The runaround?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Well, that's too bad. Let me see. Who do I know that's over there? Let me do a little research with you. Oh, man, I'm not going to give you an order. All right, let's see. I'm not sure if people find it up the shot. Miami-Dade State Attorney's Office. Used to be Leon Botkin, but that's not who it is anymore. About us. Let's look at the juvenile child support. No, I'm not sure I'll be able to find it on their website. Well, I'm sorry they're not cooperating with you, because that's really what you want to find out. I'm also going to give you the names of some juvenile delinquency judges who may be able to help you out as well.
Oh,
right,
thank
so
you.
Continue on. The types of diversion programs that you want to get from somebody who's working over there now. Are there any particular, number 9, groups that struggle to successfully complete diversion more than others? Children who don't have good support systems, I hate to say this because there shouldn't be any specific way that a family is devised. You know, the old nuclear family, mom, dad, kid, all that. Well, that's not necessarily the way things work these days. I know there's research, though, that show children in two-parent households tend to have higher graduation rates, things of that nature, less delinquency rates, less DCF involvement. So that is helpful, and that's one of the things that I did notice. But I can't really put my finger on a particular group of youths.
Okay.
In that way.
So basically, sorry to interrupt. So basically, what you think is it was just the youths that are kind of like a multi-generational or like non-traditional familial settings, that they don't have like that nuclear, you know, mother, father, son, daughter kind of family.
And I'm not even really disturbed that, you don't have a dad, you know, it's a single parent home. Yeah, there's a zillion single parent homes. The problem is more than a zillion. I mean, in the African American community, a child has a 7 in 10 chance of being born into a single parent household. It's 50% in the Hispanic community, and it's 40% overall.
So it's high overall.
I mean, it's a common feature of our society now. You're probably not old enough to remember this, but I blame Murphy Brown.
And what is Murphy Brown? I'm sorry.
You have no idea who that is. It was a sitcom from the 80s, and oh goodness, I can't remember the star. Very talented actress, and it was the first major media TV show where she was a single mother, and she handled it magnificently. Of course, she had a ton of money and 15 friends who were ready to step in and help her with the kid on instant's notice. Okay, but what do you do when you're 16 years old and you got a baby? Most of the time, your mom's raising the kid. You're not even done with high school, and all of those things impact upon the amount of time, training, intelligence, attention that's given to the child.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I don't think it's a coincidence that 7 in 10 African American children are born to a single mother. That it's not. I don't think it's a coincidence that matches up with another statistic of African American young men who do not graduate high school. 7 in 10 are in prison, not jail, prison within 10 years.
Oh my goodness.
And do you know that prison systems, they can predict how many beds they need by the number of kids that get held back in 3rd grade.
Wow, that's crazy. I did not know that.
It's crazy. And that's why early intervention and diversion is so important. You can extrapolate the number of kids that are not going to graduate from the ones that get held back in 3rd grade, okay? And from the number that doesn't graduate, you can extrapolate the number of people in prison within 10 years. And that 70% in prison within 10 years comes out of a 2006 Brookings Institute study. And I know it's 2006, but I have no reason to believe that number is less now.
Yeah, if anything, I think it would be higher.
I heard the number so many times that I went and researched it to figure out where's this coming from. And it was a Brookings Institute study. So, anyway, and I'll give you one more thought. I'm sorry I'm going off script here. But
no,
one more thought.
Fine.
We talked with a guy, and we went to some lecture series with a fellow out of, oh goodness, I can't remember, Clayton County, Georgia, which is the county immediately south of the major airport there. And this guy had become a juvenile justice judge in 2000. And he'd come from, a corporate background. And he was talking about what he looked at when he walked in. He said, this is just crazy. And he put together some programs in Clayton County where he assembled their DCF people, their juvenile justice people, their school board people, and said, look, we need to work early here Not when some kid gets arrested at age 13 or 14. You're way too far gone by then. Why aren't we working on kids who are missing 10, 15, 20 days of school in the second grade? Why are we not bringing their parents in? Why are we not looking at those households when they're 6, 7, 8 before they get to the point where they're committing crimes and focus on providing services there? And by doing so, within a period of 10 years, he was able to raise the graduation rate in the high schools in that county from the mid-50s up to the high 80s.
Wow, big difference.
Yes. And we know how to do it. We know what we're supposed to do. About 7, 8 years ago, there was a study done here in Miami. They were able to pick out the 2,000 kids most likely to be gun violence victims or perpetrators. Start with zip code, for crying out loud, or DCF involvement, or foster care, or, truancy at school, things of that nature. They were able to pick out these 2,000 kids at age 7. Do you think we put any programs together for that? No. We didn't have the political will or money to do it. But if we did focus earlier, we could get much better results.
Yeah,
anyway,
definitely.
I'll get off the soapbox in a minute. Let's see. What services are provided? Number 10 are available for low-income families who qualify for diversion. I don't know the answer to that question. I don't. I do know that more and more we're doing Zoom these days.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, exactly how they're doing it, I'm not sure.
Oh, but that's pretty good.
And I will tell you, that was a big deal to me when I was a juvenile delinquency judge, because I would have my lawyers would come in, my defense lawyers, and say, okay, well, we're moving for a continuance on the day of trial. And I'm like, excuse me? Your child and the child's mother took 2 buses and a train to get here today. Mom took a day off work. The kid is missing a day of school, and you're telling me you want a continuance? You don't do it. We don't do it that way. It really disturbed me, because with kids, it's such a disruption, particularly to the parents as well, and it costs an expense to do it. And I pushed my lawyers very hard back then, because I was also of the belief with a juvenile, if you give them 3 months, they'll give you 3 more cases. At that age of 15, 16, 17, if they've just started to go bad, and you don't intervene quickly, and I don't mean go bad, but I mean be subject to influences that would cause them to get arrested or be in trouble. If you don't catch it quickly, they're going to give you 2, 3 more cases really fast.
Yeah.
So, anyway, I'm just rambling with you, but these are some thoughts to share with you.
No, they're
All
good
right.
thoughts. They're good thoughts. Thank you.
Okay, so number 11 and 12 and 13. Researchers have stated welcome advancements in the juvenile justice system have proven less likely to benefit Black, Asian, minority, ethnic, and young people. I don't know. I don't know. I think that it's not, if it is, it's not the difficulties within the diversion systems. I think the problem is more likely, as I've said from the beginning, what kind of support system do you have going on? I mean, what's in place? I'll give you a statistic. Let's stand by 1 second. Jessica, you know what a commitment is? When a child gets committed in the juvenile justice system, goes off to, we used to call them reform schools, now they're called commitment centers, residential centers. Okay, so the statistics that exist right now are that if a child is sent off to a commitment center, their recidivism rate, when they get out and come back, their recidivism rate is approximately 50%. 1 out of 2. And it's defined as arrested for an offense for which they are convicted arrested within 12 months. Not just arrested, but arrested for an offense for which they're convicted
and the offense occurring within 12 months of release. That's ridiculous. That's greater than the adult recidivism rate.
Oh my goodness, that's insane.
Oh yeah, and we know that it is. We know that it is, and we're not taking the steps to fix it, for starters. And I often look at it as this. You know, some of these kids will thrive in a reception center. I mean, in a commitment center. But I do the analogy of this. If you have a plant that's in crappy soil, in bad soil, and it's doing badly, and you take that plant and you put it in really good soil, gets all the nutrients and everything and plenty of sunshine, the whole thing, and it grows and it flourishes. And then you take it out of that soil and you put it back in the bad soil again. What do you think is going to happen?
The plant is gonna, it's gonna go
bad
bad.
again.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what's happening with these kids. You take them out of a miserable situation, maybe foster care, maybe a single parent household where the mom or the single parent does not have control. They're doing poorly in school because they're not getting the attention. They're hanging around with knuckleheads smoking pot all day. And they get into some trouble. And of course, to go out for a commitment, you got to get into some fairly serious trouble. You don't go there for boosting cars. You go there because you've committed a robbery or something worse. And I talk with people who teach at those schools, and they say the greatest or the best successes they have are with kids that respond well to socialization classes, that learn more about themselves, and how to interact with other people. And come out of the center with better interpersonal skills. Those are the ones that are more successful. Yeah. So I don't know whether it's because they're black or Asian or minority, or because because our juvenile justice system really is falling down on post-commitment. Or if it's because they're not getting everything they need to out of a commitment center. I don't know. And when I look at the question of, is it because they're black, Asian, or minority, none of the judges that I hang out with are going to punish somebody more severely because they're black or Asian or anything of that nature. And don't get me wrong, I'm not being defensive. About 4 or 5 years ago, maybe longer than that, the Sarasota Herald Tribune came out with a series of articles where they had done a statistical study of sentences given to white, black, Hispanics by the type of crime. And they found objective proof that blacks and Hispanics were treated more severely than white people were on specific crimes. And immediately, judges said, well, yeah, but what about the minimum mandatories? Or what about their prior offenses? Or what about the type of offense? I said, yeah, okay. I got it. And I do have my questions about their methodology, because when I looked deeply into the study, I found that Judge Miguel de la O was very prejudiced against black people on second-degree felonies. And I know this man. He doesn't have a prejudiced bone in his entire body. He is the most even person in the world that I know. But somehow, the statistics came out that on second-degree felonies, black defendants ended up with longer sentences. I don't know how that could happen, but I am, to my core, I know it's not because the fellow's a racist, because I know that he is not. So I'm not sure about the methodology, and I'm not sure what are all the factors that go in there. My final answer to, how come black people are getting higher sentences is, I don't know, but it's something we need to look at and figure out what are the influences. Are there crimes that carry greater minimum mandatory sentences? Are there a greater percentage of 10-20 life crimes? Or a greater percentage of, prison releasee reoffenders who get mandatory sentences, or habitual felony offenders, etc. I don't know how the numbers are being generated, but I do agree it's something we have to look at closely.
Definitely.
It shouldn't happen on the basis of race. And that's about all I have to offer to you, but I do suggest that Monday you might want to give a call to Judge Orlando Prescott at the Juvenile Justice Center. He is the chief judge for the juvenile division.
Okay, so yeah, he would be the most familiar with the current practices.
He's been the chief over there. Oops, I put in the wrong name. Stand by. Let's see. Prescott. And truly one of the nicest people in the universe that you would ever meet. Give you a telephone number. It's 305 679